I am a life coach. I will coach your life for you while pretending to not tell you how to live your life. I will subtly tell you how to live your life. You will rely upon me and I will call the shots for you, and you will pay me handsomely. Now do not let appearances deceive you. I am a new breed of life coach. I, of course, have long hair and a beard and a mustache, but I am well groomed. After all, how many life coaches do you know who not only brush their teeth 3 times a day, but when they're finished brushing their teeth, brush their beard? I have a new platform. I am a life coach of life coaches. I'm a new breed of predator. I'm a predator upon predators, as in the movie Predators, where one predator preyed upon another predator that preyed upon the human predators that had been transported to the wildlife nature preserve in some part of the galaxy. I am that new life coach. Now, in order for me to teach other life coaches how to be better predators, I have to be a meta predator. I have to learn how to prey upon life coaches. Now, in order to learn how to prey upon life coaches, I have to find the predator inside myself. Now, of course, that word is a scary word for us humans because we think of ourselves as the topmost members of the food chain. There are no predators above us. And so what does it mean for a human being to be a predator? Well, we're not thinking in the context of other animals, obviously. We're talking about human predators upon other humans. And that is scary. And so first, let me delineate exactly what I mean by that. We're talking about energetic predators. Predators who look for the weakness in their fellow human being, exacerbate it, and therefore destabilize the human being, and then move in for the kill with our spiritual fangs. So, we understand that human beings around the world experience the universal phenomena of suffering. Well, as a predator, I find a way to exaggerate that suffering within the person by giving them lofty goals, which they cannot possibly attain in the here and now. And so they're already feeling displaced, dispossessed, disenchanted with their current life situation. I introduce a higher set of goals. I increase the discrepancy between their average self and their ideal self. And then I coach them how to get there. But of course, they feel that this higher goal is so far removed, that salvation is so remote, that they feel despair, and they pay me to alleviate that despair. Right? So I've kind of weaponized aspiration itself. You want to get somewhere. You want to get out of your suffering. You want to get unstuck. Every human being does. As a life coach, I simply come up with a carrot and you pay me for it. Now, I noticed that this one class of predators, let's say Life Coach 1.0, could themselves be exploited. I could prey upon life coaches. I could become a life coach of life coaches. I could find a way to dangle a carrot in front of life coaches. And how did I do that? Again, I reflected upon myself and I found the predator inside me. Right? I said, you know what? I'm going to be honest with myself. I recognize that I have the impulse toward predation. And that in fact I might be a super predator of sorts. A predator upon predators. Right? Now, what life coaches don't necessarily understand, Life Coaches 1.0, is that they are predators. They, of course, have noble-minded goals, right? To instill noble-minded goals, or at least coach people to attain or realize or actualize the self-created noble-minded goals. Now, for myself, I realized that I don't want to be a predator. And I need to become a predator upon my predatorial impulse. Think about that. It becomes a closed loop. It becomes a closed loop. Now that's the paradigm. I call it the circular paradigm of predation. And it's what I teach the first generation of life coaches. I elucidate the nature of their predatorial instinct. I point out to them, hey, you're actually preying upon innocent people who feel so dispossessed, so lost and at sea in life. You're recognizing and acknowledging their suffering, but then you're dangling a carrot in front of them as if they can emancipate themselves from the suffering according to your 12-step program or whatever it happens to be. And then you charge them for it. And of course, unless they're rich, they're going to go into debt because you charge exorbitant rates. Do you realize that you are a predator yourself? And how do you feel about that? Well, most life coaches, perhaps all of them, have some degree of conscience. They realize that they're on the hunt for weak people. People who are desperate for any sort of salvation and will pay as much money as possible. And I say to these life coaches, do you want to cease and desist being a predator? Is there a way that you can actually be a good person and stop exploiting weaker members of the human race, preying upon them? And almost every single one, in fact, I think every single one that I've talked to, and I've talked to dozens now, would like to stop being predators. Because I point out to them that the human race is actually divided into prey and predators, that there's a hierarchy with the super predators at the top, like the 1%, for example, who use money not just for influence, but for control. Because if we think about what money is power. But what is power? Power is the ability to influence. But what is influence really? Influence is control. So it's not simply that you have money. It's not simply that you have power. It's not simply that you have influence. It's that you have control. That's what all of that means. Right? And of course, those at the very top use their control to cement their control and create a global infrastructure of control that is impregnable. So when I talk to the life coaches and I show them the super predators, the globalist elite that control the planet, I said, do you want to be like them? Do you want to be a predator? And they're like, no, we want to be good. We want to be good people. Obviously, they have the noble impulse toward goodness. So I say to them, then you need to become a predator upon the predatory instinct in yourself. You need to hunt the hunter within. Now, can you imagine what that's like for most people to hear that? Especially the noble-minded life coach 1.0. There is a rather magnificent painting in my house. It comes from Christian literature. Well, let's just say the Judeo-Christian tradition because I don't know what book of the Bible. But it's where the lion lies down with the lamb. Maybe it's in John somewhere. And apparently that is an ideal or some kind of glorious image or wonderful situation, positive scenario. I'm not quite sure. But if you really look at that, it's weird. Like, who is the lion? When the lamb lies down with the lion, is the Christian the lamb? Then who is the lion? Is the Christian the lion? And why would we want to lie down with our predators? Who's going to benefit from that? Because the lamb can change its mind and say, you know what, I don't want to lie down with the lion. And if the lion changes his mind, then goodbye lamb. So you could see that it's twisted to say that this is an ideal scenario where the lamb lies down with the lion because the power is in the lion's hands completely. Interesting how we have these little ways of justifying the predator-prey dynamic. In ourselves there is a lion and a lamb. Right? Now what is the lamb? What I'm doing is I'm twisting the paradigm. I'm inverting it. I'm flipping the paradigm. If we are going to become predators of our predatorial instinct, then inside of us, the predatorial instinct is the lamb. And then the meta-predator is the lion. So to become a predator of our predatorial instinct is to hunt the hunter inside of us. So when we're sitting at the dinner table and we find ourselves maneuvering the conversation in such a manner that we get to exhibit our power and dominate and control, or we simply subtly finagle things so that we're on top, or that we feel a kind of satisfaction at the expense of the people around us. Now that's the predatorial instinct in a very mundane context. Then I become a lion for that lamb. And inside of myself, I run around and I chase that lamb. And I catch it. And I eat it. Because I'm a lion. And I'm hunting the hunter within. I'm a predator upon the predator within. This is what I sell to the life coaches. Because I am a meta life coach. I am a predator of predators. This is what life coaches and so many other human beings don't understand. That we have this predatorial impulse because we are in a predatory world and we are in a very predatory system. So if we are in a top-down elitist pyramid-like structure with the 1%, the global elites at the top, then that entire architecture is fundamentally predatorial in the sense that it's a master-slave schemata. Masters at the top, slaves at the bottom. A master is a super predator. But everywhere going down that pyramid, down that chain, down that architecture are different levels of predators. Not quite as powerful as the predators at the top, the apex. Until you get down to the bottom. And they're still predators, but they're just preying upon each other. And then below the human pyramid, of course, are all the livestock that we use to feed the entire human pyramid. The billions of animals, the chickens, the pigs, the cattle that are in the factory farms. Yeah, that's our prey. That's the prey for the entire human pyramid. And then within that pyramid are different levels of predators. So how do we become predators of predators and close the loop and become humane? We have to look at the predator inside of ourselves. And this is why I am a life coach of life coaches. Because life coaches are out there trying to improve the lives of their fellow citizens. But they're doing it within a predatorial paradigm. And invariably, if they're not intimate with the predator inside themselves, they will predate on their client. You've seen it. You've seen that funky vibe in the life coach that's just looking to pounce upon someone's weakness and give them a suggestion, give them advice, tell them how to live their lives, offer a new carrot. You can get unstuck. Here's your 12-point plan. There's a dependency there. The predator is dependent upon the weakness of the prey for the dynamic equilibrium to exist. So when I saw those life coaches, the unconscious predators, I was like, I am going to be a predator upon predators. And I'm going to tell them how to find the predator within themselves and hunt that predator. And therefore they will become circularly self-sufficient. They will take that predatory energy that's going outward, internalize it, and have more wholeness and self-sufficiency. They won't need to destabilize anyone outside them because they will feel whole within themselves. And then any advice or opinion or guidance that they offer will come from a place of wholeness, of self-sufficiency and integrity, of self-sustainability, where the predator is being hunted inside and therefore doesn't need to hunt the prey outside.